And gentlemen, welcome once again to the Think Clinical podcast. My name is Hamza. It's another very beautiful Sunday morning here, and it's always amazing to be here with you. This is the 30th edition of the Think Clinical podcast. We have been providing very consistent content for you over the last couple of months. And I'm happy to say today we launch our 30th episode. So welcome once again, ladies and gentlemen, and I hope you've enjoyed all the other episodes we've presented to you. And please contact us if you have any questions. As usual, leave a comment in the comment section below and we will be in touch. Today I'm going to be talking about one of my favorite topics, which is on leadership, and I always love to talk about stuff around leadership because that is something that I have had to learn over the last couple of years, something I've had to hone in myself over the last couple of years. And the deeper I went on leadership, the more I appreciated principles and the deeper it gets into how granular leadership can be, how granular leadership skills can be. So it's amazing to finally get deeper into some of the leadership topics, and today we are going to be talking more about value-based leadership in healthcare entrepreneurship and what that really means if we talk about value-based leadership. Is this something you would want to try out? Is this something you want to learn? Is this something you want to apply in your own local settings, in your business? Is this something you think would work if you took the time to really implement it? So today we'll learn about what value-based leadership is, and I will finalize this by giving you some suggestions on how you can actually implement value-based leadership in your healthcare business, and then we'll pick up the conversation from there. So welcome once again. If you haven't done so already, please remember to subscribe, like, and share so that we can have this content out to as many people as would want to see it and would benefit from it. So welcome. Now the biggest question I'm sure is running through everybody's head right now is, what is value-based leadership and what does that even mean? And so when we talk about value-based leadership, that philosophy just emphasizes aligning an organization's actions and decisions with its core values. So every decision you make, every belief you have, every action you take, you're aligning all those with your core values. And if as a leader you're able to get your organization into that shape where every action you take and every decision you make is aligned to your core values, then that is basically what value-based leadership is. So now, rather than just focusing on your profit margins, focusing on your market share, value-based leadership mostly prioritizes ethical considerations. And if you look at this in the context of the healthcare industry, we are looking at patient outcomes and we're looking at the well-being of your teams. So you're going beyond all the profit margins, all the revenue, all the top line numbers, all the bottom line numbers. And you are going deeper to look at, to make some ethical considerations. How is my team doing? The team that's providing care to my patients, how are they doing? You're also looking at patient outcomes. So let's look at these two key terms, right? When you look at values, these are the fundamental beliefs or principles that guide an organization's actions or decision making. So every organization, every individual, you should have your own core values. So should your organization have its core values. So these are just the fundamental beliefs that guide decisions that you make in your organization, what you believe in, what you stand for. So those are values, right? And leadership is just your ability to guide and influence, and most importantly, and this is the part of it that makes a lot of sense to me, to inspire people to change, or to inspire people to follow you, to inspire people to take an action. That's leadership, right? So if you know your values are just fundamental beliefs or principles that help you or guide your decision making or actions that you take, And those actions in terms of leadership are going to help you influence and inspire people to make certain decisions or decide to do other things. Then you should know that putting those two together and really aligning everybody and every decision that is made in the company to align with the values of the company is one of the most important things you might do. Now, this is what you may ask: how important is this for a healthcare business? I mean, again, healthcare businesses, there's a lot at stake, and one of the key things I always say is that this is centered around the patient. So when you have a healthcare industry, patients are number one. And any organization, any healthcare organization that I've seen implement value-based leadership have mostly patient-centered care. A lot of everything they do, every decision they make, they prioritize the patient outcomes and satisfaction before they even make those decisions. Secondly, there are a lot of ethical gray areas in medicine, and it's very easy for people to cross them. And value-based leadership, mostly when companies make decisions based on their fundamental beliefs, they mostly stay within those ethical boundaries. And lastly, a lot of companies that have seen this have positioned themselves very well for long-term growth, long-term sustainable growth. So a lot of people do not immediately see the value of aligning every decision with their core values and really sticking to it and going with it. But in the long term, this has proven to be very, very, very important in the outcomes that companies get in terms of their long-term growth. The growth is usually slow. The growth is mostly not a growth that most investors or private equity firms who invest in companies would want to see. But if you give it that ability into a long term, it's stronger and it's based on a very strong foundation of growth within the company. Now, how do you implement this? If you don't practice the value-based leadership strategy now and you want to do that, how do you go about this? How would you be able to start? Now, the first thing would be that you need to really define your core values. What are your core values? What are the core values of the company? What are the core values of you as a CEO, as an individual? Because the big part of value-based leadership is translating mostly, not all your core values, but most of your core values, what you believe, into your company core values, because that forces you to be able to stay and be true to it. So first of all, you need to define those core values if you want to implement this across the company. Sit down quietly and look at what your core values as a company is, and do they reflect your own personal core values? Because this is your business, and people coming to your business should be able to see your vision and appreciate your core values and what you believe in, what fundamental things drive your actions, what fundamental principles drive your decision making. So that's the first most important thing. If you're able to get this done, then it means that you need to communicate these very effectively. And that is one of the biggest things about leadership: the ability to translate what is in your head and what's in your paper to the people, and actually having the people align with what you believe and what your vision is for the company. So first of all, once you define those, you need to communicate them, and then you have to reinforce those values. Just communicating them is not enough. You need to keep consistently reinforcing them. And the third thing is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing that you should do during this implementation stage, is by leading by example. Because core values are things that people would see and people should see every day as a leader. They should see you making decisions, taking actions based on some specific values. And if those values are clear and everybody can see transparently, because you lead by example, it's very easy for people to follow and people to adopt whatever your core values are. And then the another very important thing you should look at is just prioritizing patient and employee well-being, which is one of the central focus points of companies that practice value-based leadership. And again, as I always tell in my subsequent episode, what you cannot measure, you will not know if it's growing or it's improving. So you need to always measure and you need to adjust. You will not get it right the first time, so you need to always measure and you need to adjust. That's what is going to help you grow within this. But you are going to face some challenges, and I cannot go through this episode without telling you that doesn't come easy. You will face some challenges, and one of those big challenges would be trying to balance your values with profitability. When you start looking at value-based leadership, profitability somehow becomes very slow because you take a few steps back to be able to align everything and align everybody to your core values. And when that happens, it takes quite a bit, because looking at patient-centered care, making ethical decisions, looking at long-term sustainable growth, those ones don't come with the immediate profitability values that we want to see. So you will need to find a way to balance those values and your value-based leadership skills with profitability. The second thing, which every company would face, is on resistance to change. So companies would have some resistance to change. Nobody wants change. Everybody wants to do what they know how to do best, and they want to stick to it till eternity. And that's something that we need to pay attention to, especially when we are looking at value-based leadership. And the third thing is just maintaining consistency, because you are trying to communicate a value to your employees. If you do not stay consistent, there's absolutely no way you're going to get away with this. So these are some of the things that we need to look at as far as value-based leadership is, and this is just a very high-level background and high-level insight into what value-based leadership is, what its importance is, how you can implement it, and as well as some of the challenges that you can face. If you want to know more, please feel free to reach out, and we are willing to talk with you, give you tools that would help you to be able to go through this process of gradually implementing value-based leadership skills within your organization. This has been another very exciting episode of the Think Clinical podcast. Thank you so much for always being with us, and have a wonderful day.